going on, fam? How is everybody doing? I hope you are having a wonderful day. We're going to get in and get out today. I hope y'all like my little virus drawing. Anyway, fam, hit that like button for me. That is the most important thing you can do. Hit that like button for me. Hit the subscribe if you have not hit the subscribe. Please hit that bell if you have not hit that bell to get notifications. Please do that for me if you have not done that. If you want to donate, you can go to donatebrown.com. You can go to adosmerch.com to get a shirt or a hoodie. Also, if you want to do Patreon, patreon.com/ycarnell. You can do all that stuff. But the most important thing is hit that like button. Oh, you can subscribe to brown.com as well, where you can give me your email address. I promise not to I rarely use it, but I just like to have it in case I need to reach you directly. Like the old people say, directly. Now, fam, we got a lot to talk about tonight in a quick amount of time because I ain't going to keep you here after midnight. So the first thing, though, as usual, please do not forget that we have a book club coming up on the 26th. I got a feeling we're going to be reading a lot of books. Stand in the house a little bit. The Color of Money, Black Banks Under the Racial Wealth Gap. We have to do that. We have to do that. We're going to read that. That is on the last Thursday. We will have the Monday and Wednesday show, and we will have the book club show. So that is March the 26th. So please, please, please show up for that. I would appreciate it. Listen, fam. You know, I didn't talk about this early on. I like to see what stuff is going in the direction that we're headed. You always got to see which way the wind is blowing. When you talk about the corona, are they maintaining the virus? Have we been able to contain it? We saw all these other viruses, they were contained and people went on about their business, right? At least in America. But there are things happening in America right now that I have never seen in my lifetime. And so that signals to me, it doesn't signal to me what is absolutely going to come, because there are a lot of factors in play in terms of like what America has to do in terms of the government, to the medical establishment, from the CDC to everybody. People got to do stuff, right? But when I look and see NBA suspend season due to coronavirus, and I know that I think a player came down with it, I see something that raises all sorts of red flags. And it says something about who we need to be and what we need to do individually and as a family, but collectively as well in terms of our politics. You see, for those of you who were here last episode, there was a older man who called in, and he was a boomer, I think, and he said he had money. He might have been silent generation. I don't know. I don't know how much I care. But he said something to the effect of, I got $100,000. You don't know nothing about wealth. You don't know nothing about power. You need to vote for Trump. And so I think in terms of we're gonna talk a little bit about this virus and what to expect, but we also have to talk a little bit about what we're trying to do as a group. And are we trying to be a group? Because what we have to talk about is, let me just say this. What are you going to do? You want to talk to me about you got 100,000 and you gave it to whatever HBCU you gave it to, and I don't have it. What do you have because you invested in Trump and because you voted for Trump to protect you against the corona? Because see, all money flows. All this government money that if you don't understand anything else, I want everybody to understand that the tax system is nothing but the redistribution of wealth. They take taxes from everybody and they redistribute it all around. And when we talk about opportunity zones, what you're talking about is a Trump tax cut, right? And you'll say, well, he's like he said, I'm going to get the opportunity zone. Yeah, but understand what you're getting. You're getting money that was part of a tax cut that really needed to go to the CDC. So let's understand what you're taking. Just understand that. So let's talk about what's going on with this virus, and and none of us, I want to hedge this by saying none of us know what's going to happen. They could contain this and it's not a problem, right? And it's not a big issue. It's not a big deal. And the U.S. could really step up. They haven't done it so far. The Trump administration, you haven't done it so far. But they could really, let's say the agencies kind of act within themselves and they step it up, right? And we don't have it. Something else is coming. I don't care whether it's climate change. I don't care whether it's another virus. I'm not necessarily talking about this one thing. It's about everything that we're experiencing and how exposed we are as ADOS to it. So let's talk about a little bit about what's happening. In terms of what's going on in Italy, other than China, it was the most like impacted place. Almost 200 people in Italy died from the coronavirus in 24 hours. Italy's Civil Protection Agency says the highest daily increase in absolute terms registered anywhere in the world since the respiratory illness emerged in China in the end of 2019. Now understand something. This is a huge increase, and I've seen a lot of black people going around talking about it's just like the flu. It's just like the flu. It's the same as the flu. It's not just like the flu. In terms of how it inflames the lungs, it's not the same thing. There's a man in Georgia who will tell you it's not the same thing. He says he's still with us, I think. But he says it's unlike anything he's ever experienced. He never felt this bad. It's not your regular run-of-the-mill flu. And the thing that makes it so much more, even if you're younger and like you make it through it, the thing that makes it so much more damaging is that you can have long-term damage to your organs and all sorts of things, right? So let's just have an understanding as we have this conversation. Let's just have a conversation about an understanding about what we're dealing with. I haven't done any kind of research about which groups get it the most and nothing, so I'm not going to spread any kind of theories. We're not doing that. We're just going with like what we need to think about and how we need to think going forward. We all know that the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus a pandemic, right? So that's where we are. No NBA season. What was it? I got a thing now here. The SXXW. All this stuff has been canceled. All this stuff is being canceled, right? And you have to think, not just about the illness itself, but you have to think about how we're going to be impacted because we're going to be the first laid off. So we're going to talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about what that says about our politics. But first, let's get a little bit into it, because a lot of what has to happen here is an understanding, because I don't even think that the people who have been talking about this have been doing a good job in terms of how they talk about it. So we're going to go through a few things. We're going to talk about just a few things about the illness, and then we're going to talk about it politically and why I am where I am politically. I think you should be here too. So Italy's prime minister, what's the child's name? No, we're not doing that. Ordered all businesses except pharmacies and grocery stores to close, tightening down the lockdown in the country. I have never seen a space where you've had whole lockdowns. I'm not saying that's what has to happen, but look at what didn't happen in America. This is when I talk about a failure of American politics. See, this is your government at work, and you need government to do the right thing. And when your government messes up, you lose. We all lose. I just landed at JFK after reporting on coronavirus in Milan and Lombardy, the epicenter of Italy's outbreak, for Vice News. I walked right through U.S. Customs. They didn't ask me where in Italy I went or came in contact with sick people. They didn't ask me anything. They didn't ask me anything. Let me tell you something. When we're dealing with a pandemic and your government doesn't ask you anything, I don't care whether it's been declared a pandemic or not. What that helps me to understand is this. My government is failing me. Now you need government. Ain't no do for self, or ain't no rugged individualism that's going to help you with a pandemic. There's no class. You can go get a how to be a billionaire class all day long. They said one of the NBA players had the corona. So that doesn't, you interact. And that's why I am where I am in terms of my politics. I understand the importance of government. And government has to be big enough to be robust. It can't be small and drowned and a skeleton. It has to be muscular and big enough to do big things that I need done. And people are like, well, Yvette, why didn't you go with Bernie? You say you like big government. Bernie wanted big government. I don't need big raceless government. I need government to do everything. I need government to understand race and what has been done to us and fix that and be big enough to step into action when the corona comes. I keep pronouncing it wrong. Corona, yeah, I got it right that time. But I need it to be big enough. That's the importance of government. See, all these people who will tell you don't need government don't have anything when the corona comes. They're not even gonna buy you cold and flu medicine, and all this stuff half this stuff don't even sound right. And then you see Trump over here. The Trump administration is stalling an intel report that warns the U.S. isn't ready for a global pandemic. Well, no, Sherlock. Trump budget proposes cuts to global health amid 2 global health crises. See, part of what has happened is America, this whole small government, rugged individualism garbage. Part of what, and I'm not trying to, I'm nice. Listen, I'm nice to when black Republicans call in here. I'm nice. I'm not mean, because I think we have to act as a collective in our own interest. And I think that means not putting a stigma on people in a certain way. But I think I want all of you to understand that you can't act individually for yourselves because you work in money or you've made some money or you don't like the Democrats. Me either. The only reason I'm here is because majority of ADOS vote in this space. I know we need government. The majority, you might not, but I know the majority of us need it, and we're already here. So that's why, for me, transforming something that we already are the base of is better than trying to reinvent the wheel, and a wheel that doesn't give us enough money. It's all about the monies. We have this mindset. The America that we live in is not good for emergencies. You cutting all this stuff. Trump budget proposes cuts to global health. You cutting all this stuff that we need, but we need global health. You cutting, you can't pay reparations. You can't protect us. And then we have a situation now where if you go to the hospital, Trump said during this, how many of y'all watched his thingamajig, his thing in the Oval Office where he sounded like he got the corona with all this stuff in his. How many of y'all watched that? Well, we're going to waive copay. No, but do I get to get off work? Our people can't. Listen, understand where our people work. We work a lot in fast food. We work a lot in service industry. We got a lot of black women who are nurses, who are traveling nurses. Nurse to nurse. You got to understand the exposure of the group. I don't see I just don't see how a government that's not robust, like honestly, there are countries right now, we're going to get into this, that are sending out cash payments to citizens to make sure that they can stock up on food and stuff and just be in the house. That's what we need. But see, Trump is just the Republican Party on steroids and a little off. We have a problem before he got here, though. And don't let anybody tell you that problem is solved after he leaves. No, he's just the worst kind of aberration. The worst kind of like manifestation of this I'm a rich white man, small government stuff. Hell, Joe Biden is a problem too, just not on that level. Joe Biden walks around, I'm gonna cut everything. I'm on the. No, I don't need that. What y'all on? What kind of drug is this? So did Trump try to cut the CDC's budget as Democrats claim? Analysis. So let's read a little bit about this before we get to the corona. The president introduced his fiscal year 2021 budget proposal on February the 10th, just 11 days after the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus outbreak a public health emergency of international concerns. The spending plan included a 16% reduction in CDC funding from the 2020 spending levels. Understand how big 16% is. In fact, all of Trump's proposals have called for cuts to the CDC funding, but Congress has intervened each time by passing spending bills with year-over increases for the CDC that Trump then signed into law. Come on, this is not just negotiating. This is stupid and this is dangerous. But it's not just the president's budget proposals that are under the microscope as fears of a new coronavirus outbreak mount. This was a few days ago. Bloomberg also took this before Bloomberg dropped out. Bloomberg also took aim at Trump for eliminating the position from the National Security Council responsible for coordinating administration efforts to combat infectious disease. And he did that. And here's a quick tweet. Let me just show this really quickly. Trump says the coronavirus came out of nowhere, but last year the DNI warned that we were vulnerable to a pandemic that could lead to massive death rates Massive rates of death and disability severely affect the world economy, strain international resources, so on and so on. And here's the actual quote. Yeah, and now here we are. You have to understand that. You have to understand it. And I don't know. I'm trying to understand. But I don't know, as you look over that, we should be so mad. We should be so angry at people who have talked us into like not dealing with government for the sake of well, that you don't want a handout. We should be so angry at that. Because that's what's about to happen. They're going to bail out these people. The question is, are we going to get bailed out? That's the big question. And I don't know how we answer that question. I don't know, because we have been put into the positions of being Uber drivers and all kinds of stuff. So think about it. I want you to just think about it for a second. If you're an Uber driver, you not only Antonio tweeted this earlier, but that's why we shouldn't complain about welfare. I had to pull that up. You not only have to deal with the people getting in your car who might have the virus, and you're exposing yourself to that, and you expose them because you got to eat. You're not doing nothing wrong. Please don't think I'm holding the Uber drivers accountable for anything. You're doing what you have to do because Obama allowed Uber to make you subcontractors with a 1099 as opposed to actual employees with benefits. Your first black president did that. This gig economy is Obama's economy. He should own it. Hang that albatross around that Negro's neck. Own that. Because you can't even go and say, you know what, and Uber gave people, what did he give them, like 2 weeks or something? That ain't it. You're risking your life now, and you don't have a choice. And Obama did that too to mask the unemployment rate, so he could make it look like people were really having jobs when they really weren't having jobs. You think you slick, but I was onto that all along. So now you get a 1099. A 1099 means you don't have benefits with the company. You don't have health care. You don't have none of that. I don't know a lot of black people with health care because it's so expensive. Everybody talks about Obamacare. And I've said this before. I pay $500 a month for a little raggedy plan that half the little clinics don't even take. How do you run around proud of that? Well, the people who have money, they get their pre-existing illnesses covered. Oh, you trash ex-president. And I don't even call people that, but I'm so pissed off because you look at like this, a pandemic is sweeping. And you look at everything that's done wrong and you understand. So forgive my anger. I don't like to use that word. I don't like to call nobody because we know a little rapper who called us trash and demeaned us and did all this stuff. But I'm talking about a policy, not a person. All of these policies were awful under Obama. There were no protections. So now we're just here. So what do? If you work in one of these places, you're a traveling nurse, you Uber, fast food, whatever, service industry, you just a waitress or whatever. What do? How many people in the chat work in places where they come in contact with people on a daily basis? What do you do if you live paycheck to paycheck? What do you do if you cough? So let's talk about that just a little bit. Just so we know. We have to know these things. This is from The Atlantic. This coronavirus is unknown to our species. Once it breaks into one of our cells, the extent of its spread through the body seems to vary significantly. That means it's a shifty little virus. The experience can slowly progress from the familiar cough, congestion, fever to a life-threatening inflammatory response as the virus spreads down into the lungs, filling the airways with fluid. Survivors can have permanent scarring in the lungs. The virus can also spread into the organs, causing liver damage, gastrointestinal disease, These effects can play over longer periods than the flu, sometimes waxing and waning. Some patients have begun to feel better than falling critically ill. The disease can be fatal despite receiving optimal medical care. That medical care part isn't there, but yeah. So let me tell you the importance of how sneaky this disease is. All right. So let's say you have all the cough, you had a congestion, you had a fever. But this little sneaky virus makes you feel better sometimes. So you have all that and you say, oh, must not have been nothing. I feel better. I'm going to go back out and be in the world again. You feel better, but you ain't better. The virus is sneaky. It's almost like it's making you feel better, so you go out and spread stuff. Feel better. Go walk in the world and be around people again. And so you're spreading it without even knowing that you're spreading it. You are delivering disease without knowing that you're delivering disease. Let's go to the next part. Oh, this is the same one. Hold on. Let's go to the next one. The best possible monitoring and communication will nonetheless prove vital to determining who needs hospital beds in the midst of a rapidly spreading temperamental disease. I don't want no temperamental disease. I don't want no disease, but I want you to be temperamental. Without it, to simply tell people to stay home if you're sick will be inadequate. Most cases of COVID-19 are reportedly mild, but the term can be misleading. As the World Health Organization advisor Bruce Allen clarified last week, mild case of COVID-19 is not equivalent to a mild cold. Expected to be much worse, fever and coughing, sometimes pneumonia, anything short of requiring oxygen. Anything short of requiring oxygen. Severe cases require supplemental oxygen, sometimes via a breathing tube and a ventilator. Critical cases involve respiratory failure or multi-organ failure. Let me ask you this. Those of you who have older people, the fatality rate amongst older people is 15%. And when I say older, I mean 80 or above, I think they said it is. And in Italy, they're not even trying to save you if you're above 60. They're saying they don't have enough ventilators. If you're above 60, you kind of on your own. They make a choice to, and 60 is young for now because you still got a lot of good years ahead of you. No. They've made a choice because they don't have enough ventilators. Because they didn't have surge either. And we don't have surge over here. 1 million hospital beds. Have you had a conversation with the old people in your life how they can't go nowhere? You can't go nowhere. No, don't be like, why? It ain't that bad. I think I can still make bingo. If you don't sit your butt down in your house. Have you had a conversation with these people in your life about like getting, hey, listen, depending on how much you have, don't do nothing else but buy stuff you need in your house. So that you have food and water. And you don't need to go outside. Because these old people, you're on Social Security anyway. You just sit down somewhere. Well, I think you just exaggerating. You just always been silly. Things have to happen. They say you can't even quarantine with other people in the house. So they tell you to stay home. But they don't tell you what stay home looks like. I read that you can't even use the same bathroom with somebody who's sick. You basically gotta lock them in the basement. Don't come up. We'll throw the soup down. So let me go to the next thing. The disease can sometimes escalate unexpectedly, even in young and healthy patients. Even healthy young patients, will need people checking in on them. They may be fine home initially, but would need to know precisely what to watch out for and when to seek care. People who do require medical supervision but not hospital care need a place to go and stay. This could include, listen to this. This could include people with escalating symptoms or underlying risk factors. Even patients with a mild case will need to self-isolate if they live with others who have not yet been infected, especially if those people are older and immunocompromised. And come on, ADOS. I put a whole article up about how ADOS, we live together now because America doesn't give us nothing to be whole citizens. So you living with mama or grandmama or whatever. Okay, you got to be here. You can't do that because their immune system can't take it. Have we had these conversations? And let me just say one other thing before we get to that. One thing I need from black people, honestly, because I saw a lot of videos of black people just saying stuff. We gotta, oh, it don't affect us and it's this and that. We don't know enough yet. Maybe this stuff gets contained and it don't be nothing. But you always gotta kind of hope for the best, plan for the worst. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. That's what you do. If you plan for the worst and the worst don't happen, you just have a set of experiences and planning for the worst. That's good to have in this world. You gotta have that. It's not a waste if you go and buy a bunch of food. If you buy some food that's not perishable, and you keep it. It doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you a prepper. It doesn't make you, and there's nothing wrong with that either. So you have to get used to, hey, be optimistic. Expect it, hope for the best. Everybody hopes that this is just like SARS or whatever, and it might be. None of us are scientists here. But you got to plan for the worst. And that means having some food in your house. But what the government hasn't allowed us to do is be in a position. They haven't sent out cash payments to anybody. I remember when Bush did them tax cuts, I got a check in the mail. How come y'all can't give us a check in the mail to go and buy food? How come y'all can't tell employers that if somebody is sick, they got to stay home? And how come y'all can't tell, as a government, say, listen, if you get the chrono, we're gonna pass a special package of spending that if you get the chrono, because if it's a small company or even a big company, they might not be able to pay. The government's gonna foot the bill for a salary for you, right? To pay for you while you're at home sick off the chrono, and you're gonna have coverage, good coverage, if you come down when you don't got no insurance, because we as the United States government, we're awful. And so what we haven't done for you is make health care available to you at a very low cost. We haven't done that for you. So we know we messed up. So we're going to cover this for you. Otherwise, you just got sick people going to work and you got sick people spreading it. That's a problem. But let's look at how other countries have kind of handled it. China addressed this by mandating that sick people in Wuhan go into quarantine for 2 weeks at one of dozens of hastily adapted or constructed emergency facilities that look almost like military field hospitals. We ain't constructed. Do we have a plan to construct some little things like that? I know that the governor of Georgia gonna put us in a park, he say, something like that. Anyway, people are given food, beds, and medical monitoring. They can socialize with other sick people, and they can be transferred to a hospital if that becomes necessary. So they quarantine away from the general public. They don't go back home to their family. The U.S. and most other countries, in the U.S. and in most other countries, the process of removing oneself from society for 2 weeks is not so straightforward or even possible for many people. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has ordered some mandatory 2-week quarantines, but for only a few hundred travelers. That's nothing. The contained have passed their days at military bases, of which the country has 15 with designated space for quarantines. The capacity of people is nowhere near what may be needed. The capacity for housing and feeding large numbers of people is nowhere near what may be needed. In February, the Pentagon ramped up the military base in preparation to quarantine 1,000 people. That's not ever going to be good enough. Though mandatory quarantining at large scales would be infeasible and legally treacherous, governments might at least offer facilities for people who have nowhere else to go when they get sick. To that end, Washington state public health officials have already procured an econo-lodge. Others could anticipate similar needs and secure local hotels or retrofit empty stadiums or dead malls, or even cruise ships at port. Ideally, the accommodations would be nicer than military bases and would not feel punitive, or else people will not use them. Given the expanding global pandemic, what is wrong with this thing? Given the expanding global recommendations to avoid large gatherings and limit travel, such arrangements might also keep the hospitality industry from collapsing. So you got to, it's a way to pay the hospitality industry, without having to actually, they're not going to be in business, but we can put you in business by you got to take these sick people. If all of this were happening, the United States might be able to avoid the sort of widespread shutdowns of cities, businesses, and institutions that are playing out in Italy, China, and elsewhere. But it is not happening. People who are sick are told to go home. A shortage of tests means that many people are staying home who do not need to. Many others are going out because they can't afford to stay home and miss work. Many don't have health insurance or fear the cost of being hospitalized. There is a strong financial incentive to conceal symptoms, to try to keep working and caring for children, and by consequence spreading the virus. Let me say one other thing. Kids are carriers. Kids are carriers. Now, the funniest thing is, the kids aren't dying from the virus. Viruses tend to not have as bad an effect on kids like chickenpox. When you get older, it's really hard if you get it. But when you're a kid, not necessarily so bad. One of the things that's happening is that kids so they have the virus, but they're not getting sick. That's interesting in and of itself. But what happens is they become little death traps, right? Because they don't have the virus, so they're not sick, and they hug and kiss grandma and grandpa and make them sick, and it's a rap tap. So you can't listen. Y'all also can't do what I saw in that video. Did y'all see that Memphis video? What it done wrapped the chat, what people was wrapping up in trash bags and stuff? That ain't it. But what you can do is try to figure out from your local officials, what is the response? If you got a kid, when are they closing these schools? And is there money being set aside? Ask your job, what do I do when my kid has to stay home? He's not big enough to just be at home by himself. So what happens now? You got to figure out what happens. You can't wait on stuff to happen, because by the time stuff starts falling apart, it's too late. And we don't know how quick this stuff's gonna pop. It could contain it. It ain't no big deal. Or you could see a couple million people sick or more, way more. We don't know. But knowledge is power. Find out. Does your kid have to do virtual school? And then how does that affect your job? So before we go to that, all the other stuff though, let's just do some other stuff. I don't even know. I don't know what people is thinking, is doing. As of last week, at ProHealth clinics in central Connecticut, patients who arrive with fever and respiratory symptoms are instructed to wait in their car and call the clinic to announce their arrival. Then a doctor or nurse dons a full shield, mask, and gown, gloves, and comes to the parking lot. The patient is to roll down a window and be evaluated on the spot. If a flu test shows no sign of the flu, the patient is to wait in the car while the clinic contacts the state health department. This is some serious stuff, and we have no protocol for it. We just half-assing our way through this. Health officials are then faced with the challenge: what to do with this person sick and alone in their car and not allowed into their doctor's office. This is where a test for coronavirus would be of use. Until this week, though, the state of Connecticut had received only one coronavirus testing kit from the CDC. We don't got the test. Testing capacity is increasing now in partnership with private labs, but as of Monday afternoon, an ongoing Atlantic investigation could only confirm 4,384 tests had been done. Now let me tell you something. Let me make sure you understand one thing. South Korea, we can only confirm 4,000. That's what they confirmed. South Korea is doing 10 to 15,000 a day. Don't tell me, Trump, make America great again, and we've been great, when you can't even match South Korea. Don't sit down and shut up. If you can't, we can't even match them. And then we try to do our own tests, and we don't even know who got we don't even know who got corona because we ain't even doing the test. They doing 10 to 15,000 a day. We've only done, that said 4,000. I saw something today that said 10,000 we've done. We've done 10,000 the whole time. They're doing 10 to 15 a day. God, talk about American exceptionalism. Now look at this. The goal over the next week or two is to get to the point of having 1 million diagnostic tests ready for shipment. Okay. For now, at least, it seems minimizing damage will involve sweeping and in price action I never like the word imprecise. To shut down a city or a country is to gamble that incurring disastrous economic consequences in the short term will prevent even more disastrous consequences in the long term. In the nightmare scenario that everyone is trying to avoid, the disease spreads so quickly that a country's healthcare system is overwhelmed and people go untreated. Do you all know that we can't surge as a country? Like, we don't have a surge capacity. We don't. Slowing the disease requires asking people to isolate themselves and in most cases stop working. Most of the world cannot shelter in place for long without income. When people are asked to survive alone without the cultural, social, and financial inputs that typically keep us alive, new ways of attending to basic needs become immediately necessary. For people who can't afford off work, we absolutely need to come up with new out-of-the-box solutions right now. Yes, that's what I just said. Among them is the idea that everyone receive cash immediately. People need to feel able to skip work and still make rent and feed their family. They need cash without strings attached, and they need it now, not via a complex omnibus economic stimulus package next month. With each day that such bills are debated by skeptical senators, people will continue to go into their communities out of need to work, spreading the disease simply because they have no other choice. Planning for emergency cash transfers is underway at Hong Kong, where permanent residents are to receive the equivalent of $1,282 later this year in an effort to keep both the economy and people alive. In response to a month of nationwide school closures in Japan, the government is paying out $80 per worker per day to help cover childcare or the cost of staying home to the parent. Other government payments could be conditional on taking sick leave, a sort of emergency national sick leave policy whereby your employer might simply have to verify that you did indeed miss work for 2 weeks. Let me tell you something. Our country is doing none of this. America is doing none of this. Sometimes you need to be able to see when your country is failing. America is doing none of this. We better hope this thing don't come this way. We might not have an election. And look at this. Look at this. Look at how it's moving. I want you to see the first part. Hold on first. Here's the last 8 days of U.S. COVID-19 testing mapped to Italy's number starting in 222. The trend looks awfully similar. It does look similar. Somebody said America doesn't even want to give us any info. That's true. That's true. And by having people stay in their houses, they do something and in terms of flattening the curve. So you don't want to go all the way up to the top of the curve, because what happens if you do that is that's when you overwhelm the medical facilities. You can't do anything with them. You have to bring this curve down. You have to flatten this curve. But what I'm seeing now is that America doesn't seem to me to be in a position. We wasted time, we wasted effort, and we didn't have, we got so caught up, America, not us, but in this idea of small government that, we're just now in a pickle. They didn't even want to tell old people not to fly. How you don't get to, you don't, I don't think we understand you don't get to do that. You don't get to say that. I don't even know what we doing. It don't make no sense. We don't even have screeners at the airport? How? Not even somebody to check your temperature? They got little temperatures they think they put on your head now. You can do that internationally. It takes 2 seconds. Check him. I don't even know. I don't think we understand the kind of government we need. This is the last thing I'll do before we go. At Harvard Forum, 3 who know warn of most daunting virus in half a century. Just so we understand, because we got to understand knowledge is power. The use of knowledge is power, best said. You can know something and not do it and just fail. It's the most daunting virus that we've contended with in half a century or more. Michael Mina, an epidemiologist at Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health, said. Why is this virus different? The spread of the new coronavirus has been compared to influenza, which also causes a respiratory illness. But as the panelists pointed out, there are no drugs or vaccines yet for treating or preventing the virus, known as SARS-CoV-2, as there are for the flu. In addition, we are exposed to different flu strains throughout our lives, which help us build immunity. No one had immunity for this virus. As researchers race to study the virus, they are finding that it does not seem to be infecting a great number of children, or at least making them very sick. Said that earlier. But it is causing serious harm to older people and those with underlying diseases, etc., etc. And even if it doesn't damage you or hurt you really bad, from what I hear, the disease lasts a long time. So let's say, well, even if you say, well, like it's like a bad flu. Nah, I saw a young guy who had it for like 30 days. Nobody has 30 days off. See, as for how to judge whether the response is working, the bad thing has happened, is coming, is here. She said, we're in the response phase. Our measure of success is not contaminant anymore. Our measure of success now is, will fewer people die or get severely sick because of our efforts? Well, you're right about that. Here we go. I don't want to sound defeatist here, but the state of our healthcare system, the way we have prioritized everything about it for the most part, is going to seriously impact our ability, he said, adding that we have no ability to create out of the blue new hospital beds. We can't even test appropriately. So let me just say this. You know, part of what has happened is that we haven't prioritized health as a country. And it doesn't even matter. Like, even if this coronavirus just makes a bunch of people sick, but doesn't kill a bunch of people, you're still looking at a disruption. Now, like I said, maybe you keep it contained. None of us have a crystal ball. But you're still looking at a mass disruption. Right? So, if you're looking at this kind of mass disruption, what's happened is, see, we need a society where everybody just like, it's okay to go to the doctor. So you need some kind of care system. Well, it's okay or affordable just to go to the doctor. It's okay to just take time off work. But we have empowered corporations to the detriment of the people who work for them. So America is not set up for a pandemic because it's not set up to take care of citizens. It's set up for citizens to take care of corporations. That's going to be a problem. You saw it even in I watched Trump's speech. You saw it even in there. He talks about the payroll and some people don't have to make tax payments. What kind of garbage is that? That's not enough. That doesn't stem a pandemic. You need people to be able to stay home without having to worry about losing their jobs. You need people to have enough money to stay home. What are you talking about, Trump? What's going on with you? It doesn't make sense. The only thing that made sense was like, banning some travel, but you didn't even include the UK, and it don't even make sense why you didn't. What kind of rationale are you using for this? A payroll tax cut and this other we gonna make it so you ain't got to pay your taxes back. That's not it. Sick people need to be able to go to the doctor and stay home and we need to have little quickly made up places for them to go, because we don't have enough hospital beds so they can be quarantined, especially if they ain't got nobody at home. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen, and the one thing that I'm seeing is our country isn't set up for it. We're set up to take care of corporations the best way possible, and that's a problem. But the second thing I'm saying is this: I think we need to take the lesson out of this in terms of like why government is important. Don't tell me no more government is important. When it comes to like big stuff like this, that's what you need. Boyce Watkins can't do nothing for you. He can't protect himself from the corona. And it's the same way on the right wing, the white right. Rugged individualism. I carry a knife and a gun in my pocket. Well, you can't shoot a virus. Good luck on you. I think at some point we have to have an appreciation for government. Now, we can all talk about how to make government better and more efficient and more accountable. But we not only need a bigger government, in my estimation, we need a bigger government that deals with race. We need everything the government has on offer. And right now we see the consequence of not having it, not getting it, not receiving it. And this is not going to be the last thing. This is not going to be the last emergency. We have climate emergency. We saw Katrina. We having all kind of climate emergencies. There could be other viruses. So let's say we dodged the bullet with this one. Right? Let's say we dodge a bullet with this and we contain it. Something else is coming down the pike. And you know who gets the brunt of it? It's us. We don't need to be working or building. That's why I can't do no Trump stuff. I don't need small government. I need a reasonably large government to work on my behalf and the behalf of people in general, the behalf of Americans in general. But I need a government that works for me. If I'm working in the service industry, if I'm a server at Applebee's or whatever, I'm a daycare provider. How many black women are daycare providers? Get a license or whatever to do it in their home too and make the home into a cute little daycare stuff. I need the government to take care of me in that space. Okay, you don't want me to take care of the kids or whatever, or the kids get sick. What money am I going to have? I need a stimulus for me. I work at the Kroger or the Ralph's or whatever. I need something that protects me if I get sick and I don't want to come to work, because rent's going to be rent. You haven't put out any legislation. You can't evict people or you can't foreclose on people. So I'm going to have to go to work, right? You can't just tell me, well, stay home if you're sick. That's some white stuff to say to somebody. We ain't never been able to stay home if we're sick. Stop whitewashing our lives. We don't live white lives. We can't just stay home. Well, Chad, Rebecca, come on. I saved a bunch of, I'm going to have to use my sick days. They think I might have the corona. And I've gotten like 90 of them saved up, and and if they don't pay, it's fine. I'll just take them out the 401k, but I'm going to be at home if you need me. I don't feel bad, but they say I tested positive. Presumptive positive. That's not our life. So I think as I go to break, like the people who have sort of told us that we don't need government and that government doesn't blah, 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 and get off the white man's plantation, you're going to see a lot of small black businesses fail. I'm already seeing people not go to the food trucks, right? How many black people recently have started food trucks and stuff like that? You don't have the capital to kind of wade through what we're doing. You don't have the capital, and you don't have enough people where you can just lay a bunch of people off and just say, phew, I laid a bunch of people off and that's it. Because we're already seeing layoffs. Let me see if I can find it. We're already seeing that too. People are already getting laid off. Let me bring that up really a little bit bigger for you. Port drivers in LA, hotel workers in Seattle, travel agents in Atlanta, stage hands in Las Vegas, festival workers in Texas. The first U.S. layoffs from the coronavirus. This is going to be a global recession regardless. and nobody's dealing with it. Not in an effective, not in any kind of effective way. So, um, you know, give me a minute. I want to hear what y'all have to say, fam. Uh, Somebody said cruise ships are disgusting. Yeah, stay away from a cruise. Please don't do that. Like, I understand you're gonna lose money, but whatever. But don't do that. Please don't do that. I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna come back, listen to what you all have to say. I want to hear what y'all have to say about it, and maybe what are you taking efforts in your own home, your own life, and where do you work? Do you feel like you are vulnerable in this space and what's happening right now? So give me a few minutes and I'll be back. All right, fam, we are back. I'm gonna go to the calls, but you know what? I never really realized in terms of how to respond and how to react, like how much I touch my face. I think I touched it here. Like I never realized. I was at the store the other day, and you know how you go to the self checkout, and I never realized that like you can't lick your thumb and get the bags apart. So I'm there like an idiot for like 2 minutes, like trying to squeeze the little plastic bags apart to get them because I'm not licking nothing. So I don't think I think part of this we have to really be vigilant. Like you have to handle the things that are in your control. Everything is not in your control. what we do with government is going forward, but that's not in our control right now. So I think what you have to do is control the controllables. You can talk to your principal or superintendent about the kids or whatever, and you can get your kid to wash your hands and all that stuff, and wash your face or whatever. You can do those things. So I think what you need to focus on is like, what is in my control right now? Like, what do I control in this moment? What do I control in this day? What am I missing in terms of information? What have my politicians not told me or not done for me? What are they not advocating for me on Capitol Hill? What do I need? Am I in a position where I need some kind of stimulus for myself in case this really goes bad, right? Like, okay, have I told the politician that I need that? Like, this might go bad. I need this to be a certain way. So I think you have to just look at what is in your control. From the day to day, what's in your control. Your hygiene is in your control. Your kids' hygiene is in their control. You have to ask your principal, superintendent too, when are y'all going to shut down schools? Is it just one coronavirus positive test? How often do y'all test? Or so, are there going to be any tests in general for the school, or do you have to just wait for somebody to come down with it? I mean, those are the kinds of thoughts you have to have going forward. Because like I say, even if you get this illness and you survive, like they say, there can be damage to your liver and organs and all kinds of stuff. So you have to figure out what you can control and start trying to control it. So anyway, fam, I'm going to the calls. What is wrong with this thing? I'm going to the calls. Give me 1 second. I want to see what everybody else has to say. I'm going now to 662. 662, what is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, my name is Freddie Monroe, and I'm calling from Snellville, Georgia. And I just wanted to thank you for the show, and thank you for all the great work you and Antonio are doing, and the rest of the ABWS family. Just in regards to this COVID-19, this has been the most frightening thing I've ever seen. It just seems to be so infectious and so devious. I mean, people can have it and not have any symptoms for up to about 14 days. And it's just, and like you said, it is very damaging. If you do survive it, it causes lung injury, permanent lung injury, and other body organ injuries. But the main thing I would like to say is that people need to get prepared for this. They need to get their home ready. They need to get their pantries ready, just in case that there is a lockdown to prevent the spread. That's the main thing, is cutting off the spread. So staying home is very important. It's time to lock that down and stay at home and just get your house ready for this, because it's here. They're having this testing. You don't know where it's at. So the best way to prevent it from happening to you right now is to stay at home.
Yeah, but see, the problem is, fam, like, a lot of people can't stay at home. They gotta go to work. They're not retired. They're not kids. So, like, you have to go out to work. Now, you don't have to necessarily do anything after work, but you gotta go to work.
Right, that's true. That is so true. That is so true. And I work in the healthcare field, and we're gonna have to go to work, and we're gonna have to go to work in this hall. So, yes, we do have to go to work. And I had called my Congressman Hank Johnson and the two senators to let them know that we need financial support to get through this. It's the only way we can get people not to go into work sick, and to have that support to pay that mortgage and that rent and those bills that are still coming in, and be able to survive through this thing with the money that they need to get through it, and not go to work and spread this disease. It's so true.
Well, bravo to you, fam. Appreciate you for actually calling in and saying and expressing yourself. We need support. We can't do it without it. So thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's what we all got to do. We can't get through this without no financial support. We don't know what, don't let nobody. The Democrats. Oh, anyway. Thank you, fam. Black people just came out for Biden. You wouldn't even have that number. You be fighting. You know what we get. We need some support. I don't even call it Corona. I call it what? I got a Chrono. I call it the Chrono. I done made it my own name. So anyway, I'm going to the next call, fam. I am going to 323. 323. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind? You there, 323? 323. 323 dropped. Going now to 267, 267. I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello.
What's going on, 267?
How you doing? I'm glad that I actually got through this time. I'm a big supporter.
Thank you.
And I just love everything that you do.
Appreciate it, fam.
And I just called in because I've been watching or paying attention to the news on the coronavirus, and like the guy just said, it is very frightening, and I think that it's a shame how our government is actually not being very proactive or not really taking steps to actually make sure that it doesn't spread or so that it doesn't get any worse. Like I work in the healthcare profession as well, and I have to go to work tomorrow. And not only that, I take public transportation, so it's just like the inevitable of this spread. And I'm actually calling from Philly, so it's just a lot. But I do think that they can actually do things that will put us in a better position, like we spoke about earlier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. You just, what you're talking about is exposure. You expose yourself on the way to work, at work, and on the way home. And there's nothing in place for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot they can do. There's a lot they can do. Them buses, the metros. Child. Child. Yeah, I agree, fam.
So I just, at this point, I'm just a little disappointed, but what do you expect? And I just called in. I'm going to let other people talk, but I love what you're doing. And
thank you, fam.
Wish you the best, and I hope you continue to do what you do.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to my next call. I am going to 617. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. It's Mike from Brooklyn. How's everything?
Pretty good, Mike. How about yourself?
It's good. It's been a while since I called in.
Oh.
But as always, thank you for everything you do. Yeah, with regard to the coronavirus, it's like you always say, you get the government you deserve. And unfortunately, here in America, we have the rule of the gerontocracy. So a lot of the politicians are just very old people, and they have like these old mindsets that aren't innovative. And that's where you see the lapse in judgment and how the system just collapsed and they didn't do anything they were supposed to do. And it's very interesting that this virus targets older people at the same time. So it's like they're going to be done in by their,
Yeah, it does. That was interesting. Like 15% is an enormous fatality rate for older people.
Yeah, and it hurts other sectors. Like, for example, if you're participating in the gig economy, Uber or Lyft, they could just turn off your app. And then how will you earn money? If they need to contain it, they'll stop all forms of transportation. If you saw initially,
that's a good point.
Initially in Wuhan, the first thing they did is shut the roads off. Who's going to want to take food deliveries from Uber Eats? You know, who knows how you got that food? I haven't been eating out for like 2-3 weeks. I don't know who's preparing the food, not just Chinese restaurants, anywhere. Because it takes 14 up to 28 days incubation when you don't show symptoms, and at the same time, you're still contagious.
Yeah, it's
so,
a
like at my
little
job,
disease, ain't it?
It's crazy.
Yeah, and you know what? The government might mandate that because that Italy is like quarantined and you can't do anything like unless you own a store, a grocery store or a pharmacy in Italy. Like it's just a wrap for you, right? So, one of the things that could happen is that in terms of a lockdown, the lockdown would include Lyft, and so what happens? What happens if the lockdown is Lyft? And Lyft is or Uber is your money. See, that's why you have to have some kind of stimulus to pay people. Because what do people do for food? How do you pay your rent if they say, well, we're locked down? Nobody can do anything if you don't. It's just pharmacies. It's just pharmacies and grocery stores that can be open. Well, what do we do for everybody else? Who pays us? And the only institution big enough to pay us is government.
Exactly. And what people don't understand is China has a command economy. They're communists, but the government, the centralized government can say, we want to build this. We're going to build this many roads, or we're going to take up this project, and it's done like that. Here, You have to go through committee. You have to have bipartisan support. So that slows things down because it's supposedly a democracy.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem here. And here you have the supply problem with masks. I tried to buy masks, and then 3M, they shut up the supply. They say now we're globally allocating everything. We're not selling them to the public. So you better be a hospital, or you better own a construction company, or they're not giving you anything.
Yeah. I have some masks I bought years ago, but I have some masks. I think this goes to that, right? Like you know, the minute I heard about it, the first thing I did was go and buy, like, I already had some masks, but the one thing I did was go and buy, like, medicines and stuff. Because the first thing I heard was, like, we're going to have people self-quarantine. So you're going to have me in my house sneezing and snotting all over the place. No. So I need to go and, like, stock up on, like, cold medicine. Because you can't do anything about the virus, but you can help relieve the symptoms. The fever, all of that, everything that reduces fever, cough, things that are good to relieve cough, that sort of thing, because they're going to have you the hospitals, if it goes wrong, the hospitals are going to surge. So the first thing that I did was like, okay, what do I need? Not only to help my immune system right now, because I need to help my immune system right now, right? But what do I need? Like if I have to self-quarantine, what medicine do I need? And I had that kind of scare. You all remember, like, last week or whatever, I was sick. It crossed my mind, like, well, what if this is the damn thing? You know, excuse my language, but you know, it turned out I got better, and so it wasn't that. But you don't even know it could. You know how that thing, it plays a game. It gets well for a little while and goes the other way. It's a crafty look, like you said, it's a crafty illness.
No, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
The weather's been so weird. I usually suffer from seasonal allergies in, like, May, June, but because it's been a little warmer, I didn't know if it was my allergies or if it was this thing. And one thing I learned from work is that there's been concerns that China's been faking its GDP numbers, and it's been faking the factory output, because no one's at work. No one's producing anything in China right now. So what they did is they had a population of the Muslim Chinese, which they call the Uyghurs. They had them in concentration camps trying to re-educate them, make them poor, just weird stuff. So the Han Chinese, which is a majority of the population, they refused to go back to the factories because it's still contaminated. So what the Chinese government did is they forced some of the Muslim Chinese in the concentration camps to go to the factories, and they're faking the output. But one of the ways they knew they were faking the output is when they looked at satellite data. China used to have a lot of pollution from all the factories. Then when they looked at the satellites, there's no pollution. So they realized they're not producing anything. So what you're going to see is, right now your shelves are still fully stocked. Starting early April, mid-April, you're going to start to see a lot of your favorite foods not there. A lot of your electronics are not going to be there because critical components are made in China. Some of your medicines, a lot of things were outsourced when they got rid of their manufacturing base.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
You're going to start to see a lot of these things missing. Yep. So that's the problem with the global economy. We have this thing called the just-in-time shipping, where, you know, some of your parts come from China, some of your parts come from Indonesia. So when there's a pandemic and they stop everything, you're just going to start to see a shortening of supply. You know, the only good thing of this is possibly countries are going to start to bring manufacturing back locally.
Yeah, but I think that's a good thing. I hope that happens. I think that's a national security. I think that's a national security issue, actually. Like, what did y'all do to us? Y'all left us totally exposed. So thank you, fam. That was a great call. I think that's a great. But what this says is, like, this is a great time to shop.
No, definitely. Black people should, like, try to stay put. Some of my friends, they're lax. They're still going out to bars. They're still going out to crowded places, clubs, and people might have to refrain from going to church. If your church has an online service, you might have to watch it. You know, so
until everything passes.
And I'll leave you to it.
All right, fam. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for calling in, fam. That was a great call. Yeah, I think that's stuff we got to deal with. And I think if the stuff is on your shelf now and you have some extra money, you just got paid or whatever, I think you go buy some stuff. I think you go buy some food. I think you go buy some medicine. I think you buy what you need to make yourself comfortable if you get sick and you have to be in your house. Right? You need your antihistamine or whatever. You need your cough suppressant or whatever if you're going to be in that house. And you don't know how bad it's going to be. Maybe, you know, mild isn't really mild with the corona, but you know, you need something to make you more comfortable. Like the accounts I've the accounts I have read of people who have, even survived it and been okay. I don't know whether this guy survived. We don't know. I didn't check before the show, but even they have been horrendous. Like, they have been like horrendous accounts. Even if you like, there was another guy who was in China. His account was a white guy. His account was horrendous. So I think even if you make it or whatever, you have to understand that what this is going to look like, and like, what you're going to be and what you're going to be going through. Anyway, fam, I am going to 856. I'm going to you, 856. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, this is John from Jersey.
Hey, John, what's going on?
I just wanted to say a lot of stuff you covered, but I've been watching this whole thing go down since it was announced in China in January, mid-January. I really started watching it because they built that hospital in like 10 days, and I was like, usually with flus or anything like swine flu and stuff like that, they didn't move, like there wasn't government action like that, so that kind of like had my alarms really like going crazy. And so I've been following this whole situation, and it's like, what I noticed is a lot of the media, at first they downplayed it. There was a lot of, I felt like it was just the flu, it wasn't nothing serious.
Yeah. And
I think there was a few, like, there was doctor shows, they were like berating people on TV and stuff like that. Like, it's not that serious, whatever, and they were like berating like the hostess, whatever. But it's really just the last like 2 weeks that they really start actively reporting like the severity of the situation. And I think, you explain a lot, but I think really, honestly, I'm not trying to alarm anybody, but I think a lot of stuff, like getting prepared and stuff, is a little bit, a little late. You get contract this virus just by somebody breathing on you. They don't even have to call for anything like that. And I think that's how, like, there's been this whole campaign of like just telling people to wash their hands and not to wear masks, and, like, you don't need a mask. And it was like they were kind of doing that because the healthcare industry needed masks, because there's a lack of masks, there's a lack of supply, like the other caller said. I just think if you can, like if you got kids and stuff like that, or if you, it's really at this time, it's like critical kind of like get anything you can get and kind of bunker in, because it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of late in the game as far as like getting prepared. And I think it's really honestly by design, because how the media covered this whole situation.
Okay. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And I tend to agree with you, fam. I tend to agree with you. It's kind of late in the game. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And that's an interesting point you made, though, about the mask. They kept saying, like, I know Antonio talked about the mask in his video. But the media kept saying, like, you don't need a mask. Leave the mask to other people. Leave the mask to the health professionals. Why the health professionals need a mask then? It's not that we don't need them, seems like to me. It seems like to me that you just decided that somebody else needed them more. And, I understand, but, like, that's not necessarily an honest way to put that thing. Anyway, I'm going to the next caller. I'm going to 504. 504, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
What's going on? How you doing?
Thanks for the chat. Thanks for the talk. Good, Sam. Love you, Yvette. Well, I can't say that, right, with all going on. But I wanted to just add that, we have to stay vigilant. You got to realize that this is all happening in real time. So what's going on with this virus, they're studying. So like you said, this has never happened in our lifetime.
No.
So the virus we're seeing, they're learning it just as we're learning it. So there's going to be a lot of confusion. There was one story where a woman supposedly caught it twice. So they're saying this virus, they don't know yet if this virus can even change and morph like the flu, just like the flu. They compared it to the flu, but like as you stated before, it's not the flu. It's a severe form. And it's like you said, it attacks the respiratory system. Mm-hmm. So we have to be vigilant, especially ADOS, my people. You all that have comorbidities. And what I mean by comorbidities, you have an underlying issue, COPD, diabetes, all this stuff can complicate
High blood pressure.
that.
I saw that on the
So
list too.
absolutely. So get your medications up. You know, stock up on that stuff. You know, but like you always say, that whenever these things come into our way, we can never get out of the way of these events because we're always stuck. We're just targets. And I know a lot of people are online saying all these different things about it's not attacking certain people and hearing that. Look, if you have the resources, fine. But if you can help somebody else, just help them out if you can. You know, and that's all I got to add to that.
Appreciate it, fam. And I agree wholeheartedly because people gonna need some help. And listen, like, buy a can opener and like buy a bunch of beans and vegetables or whatever from the store. Just like Kroger. I'm in the South. Got them 10 for 10s all the time. You never know what might happen. You might have to be in the house. America might do the same thing that Italy did. You can't go nowhere. I mean, and the only thing that's gonna be open is the pharmacy and the grocery. But who knows what the grocery gonna have on the shelf? Like, if you got $10, get you 10 canned goods or whatever, and get you a can opener to open them. That might be a lifeline. Get you if you can go get you some medicines for the house. If you can, talk to the elderly person who you care about, who you love, and tell them, like, listen, time's out for all this running around and going stuff with your little sister friends. We're not doing that right now. You got to stay home. So anyway, I'm going to the next caller. I am going to I'm going to 202. 202, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. This is Zach. I'm from D.C.
Hey.
It's D.C. in the chat. Good Sense Farm on Twitter. I'm really not enjoying this show, but this is a really great show. When I saw it, D.C. actually just announced a state of emergency and closed all events venues. So we're talking about servers, caterers, waiters, lots of people going without pay and without tips. I was just having them on my mind right now. And then also when you bring up schools, I work at a nonprofit that works at a school, and I'm just very aware of how important schools are to ADOS life and the little bit of stability that we have. So when you're talking about, the mayor is actually thinking about shifting everybody to some kind of virtual learning thing or online classes. They have yet to really, first of all, there are failing schools in D.C., so you're going to see a lot of students who weren't getting the attention they needed in the first place be shifted to online classes, and who knows when they'll be shifted back, and who knows if there'll be a recovery period for them to get their lessons or special attention. We have a lot of students on what's called IEPs, like educational plans, because they have special needs, or they have they need counselors or whatever, and they get that all from school. They get a lot of services from school, not to mention food. Now, we're talking about stocking up, but in D.C., 100% of the kids are on free or reduced lunch because so many of them are below the poverty line. So you're talking about sending kids home where they might not have breakfast, lunch, dinner. There's going to be ripple effects in our community way beyond the contraction of the virus or the survivability. And a lot of these calculations about survivability is based on normalized citizens, people who have 3 meals a day, people who are able to access.
And we don't have what? Stop, fam. Pause, fam, for me. You said a lot of these estimates are based on normalized citizenship. That's the importance of what I talked about in terms of reparations and being full citizens. If you hungry and you already stressed, because stress really damages your immune system. Stress damages your immune system. I think until ADOS, my immune system was fine. I think even the stress of like being attacked by people and all this crazy stuff that happened. I've had colds and stuff. You see me on this show. I think the stress of Black life, ADOS life, we don't talk enough about the burden that we bear because of that. And you talked about the 3 meals a day. That's part of what you need. You need a certain nutrient load for your immune system to be strong.
Mhm.
So I think you make a good point, fam.
Yeah, schools they're polling stations. They don't have we have a primary coming up in DC, and I know it doesn't really, shift the game in a small state like ours. But I'm looking at how people are going to are they going to get to the vote? Are they going to get to the polls? Because a lot of those venues are going to be shut down anyway. My partner is actually right now on shift as an EMT in DC, and I'm getting like texts every hour or so about possible quarantine of EMS staff and quarantine of firefighters. There might be a lot of things going on that affect just the general flow of ADOS life, even if you've got a job. But a lot of us are here and are going to be utterly stranded, utterly backed into a corner. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of the preparation is about, putting the police on people, controlling us that way.
I think you're right, fam.
Yeah.
It's always putting them on us.
Yeah.
But thank you, fam. I appreciate the call. That was a great call. I appreciate it, fam. Yeah. I don't think we like the rates are based on, like, even when you look at the rates in terms of Italy, like Italy has a good healthcare system. And when you look at the rates, it's like these are normal people. They live life, drink wine, and have 3 meals a day, all kinds of wonderful Italian food. Like our immune systems are probably already compromised by just being black in America. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't deal with theories about maybe not us or what. I deal with like worst case scenario. Like I said, hope for the best, plan for the worst. I am going now to my next caller. I'm going to 323. 323. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello, Yvette. This is ADOS North. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. I just want to talk about a few things, but I will keep it short. The first thing is I wanted to speak to the boomer people. The boomer, generation, and that is it's more like a statement. I'm just really tired of older folks undermining anyone who is younger than them when it comes to the coronavirus. Now, let me set it up for you guys. The place that I am staying in is a 6-woman shelter, 3 upstairs, 3 downstairs.
Okay.
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 Now, 3 weeks ago, when in Los Angeles on the news they were talking about just who's coming in and out of the country, this, that, and the third, what was going on with the virus over in China, I was telling folks then, I said, look, this is not going to be good. I think y'all need to stock up on water. This is me in the house telling the other women this. I said, stock up on water. If you can, get the mask. Even if you happen to go past a dentist office and they had masks on the reception table, take them. Anything that can kind of protect you, because essentially these caseworkers were coming around to these different shelters and simply just telling us to wash our hands. Now, mind you, they just started doing this a couple of days ago. Okay, as I just said, they've been talking about coronavirus for a while. Hence again, they just started coming around to these shelters telling us to just simply wash our hands, and that's it. Now, I have had older folk, when I'm talking to these other women, telling them, do this, do that, get the water, do this, do that, you'll have them saying, oh, well, Jesus will protect us. You don't need to do that. It's not
Jesus
that
protect
serious.
those who protect themselves. Faith without works is dead. What you mean?
So I had that several times, happening. So that's that. The next thing is this: the issue that I have is, I don't know if anyone sees it. Maybe it's just me, but I personally think the United States planned this. And what I mean by this is that you guys were talking about, and I saw it for myself, just all over the news, how they really weren't saying anything, just wash your hands, just do this, that, and the third, compile with these caseworkers coming around here, just only the past few days, telling folks to wash their hands, not really saying, too much. I think America planned this because of the ADOS movement. They see ADOS saying, okay, we're not voting for, whoever's running, all of this. This is just a created confusion. And then on top of that, they're not really protecting us like a government really would and should. So that just leads me to believe that this is just planned out.
You never know.
Anybody else may not agree with me, but I'm just looking at the totality.
You never know. But one of the things I will say, fam, I don't think they have gone nearly far enough. Like, when I look at them, I was watching this doctor today. Even today, I think I was watching Chris Hayes before the show. And they had, maybe somebody before him, and it was a doctor. He was just saying, well, just wash your hands. We all know that that's not enough now. Because I saw another report that said they believe it's transmitted through air. Like, I'm going to sniff that up. That's like a cold. What do you mean? Just wash my hands is not enough. Why do y'all keep, like, not telling me the whole truth? So I do agree with that. Like, it's a lot of stuff that, like, maybe because they don't want you to panic or whatever, but just don't lie to me. I can't stand a liar. A liar will steal, but that's another story. This is not enough just to tell me, well, just wash your hands and stay home. No, and then what happens if I go to the hospital and they said this virus is highly infectious. So what happens if I get too sick, I gotta go to the hospital, right? I'm infect people in the hospital. Like, because you're not giving me any, you're not triaging me to where I can just go where other people are who are suspected of, I'm even now trying not to touch my face, who are suspected of having the same thing or whatever. Like, I don't even know whether, but see, I don't know whether it's targeted or like this is just incompetence, because I've been seeing a lot of incompetence in my government for a long time. So I don't know which it is, but I understand what you're saying, fam. I absolutely understand that.
And so the third piece of this is, and I'm not coming against anything that you said or, so far as ADOS and what to do in their homes, but a lot of the aspect of this that's not being touched is us who are, as they like to call it, undomiciled. What is that going? Nobody has dealt with the piece of what is this going to look like with us being a 50% rate of the homeless population. What is that going to look like? We have there's nothing prepared.
Fam. We saw, God, I can't stop touching my face. Look, we saw what you said. We saw, remember the what you're talking about. If you all don't know what she's talking about in terms of the ADOS, the black, it just said black, homeless. We talked about the rate, right? So if the black homeless are undomiciled, I saw a study that said that the undomiciled are going to be amongst the hardest hit, right? If that's our family, if that's our people, then how do we deal with that? And how do we advocate for our people that are undomiciled or homeless, for lack of a better word? How do we deal with that? How do we advocate for our people given the disproportionate, it's not disproportionate, even a good word, number of our people who are in that situation? And have we even thought about how to do that in terms of what they need, right? That's a great point, fam. That's an excellent point.
So yeah, those are kind of the three things I wanted to touch on, and right about now, with the things that what I've seen, just period, what America does to us, period. I could care less who thinks I'm a crackpot or whatever the case may be. I don't care. From what I'm seeing, like I said, in the totality of things that has happened to us, my mother taught me you can't put nothing past nothing. Thank you, Yvette.
No, you're right. No, thank you, fam. I appreciate that. Was a great call because I read about that, but I didn't bring it up in the context that you brought it up, in the sense of, thanks, fam, in the sense of the number of us. Gosh, I can't. The number of us who are undomiciled or don't have, or homeless. Can't do it. Who don't have homes. Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in terms of that data set. And you're right, you have to think about stuff in a specific data set. And what do you do? Like, what do you do too when you have an undomiciled family member who's like, I need to come home, they're getting sick in the shelter, right? You have to understand too, if you bring that person in, like, they have to be somewhat totally apart from you, because that virus stays It can be in you for 14 to 21 days or whatever, and you not show symptoms. So they have to be somewhere, like you can't share a bathroom. They have to be like in the basement somewhere, right? And you have to advocate, like, this is, given how many of us are homeless, how do we advocate for our homeless people who are going to be the ones who are really vulnerable to this virus? How do we advocate for the elders? Like, how do we advocate for ourselves? Like, we have to have some kind of advocacy mechanism right now in terms of what we can do. That was an excellent point. Great call, fam. And I don't think you're a crackpot. I think you just seen the world. This is what happens in this world. 646. I'm coming to you. 646. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Big up with the chef, New York City.
What's going on?
Oh man, I'm listening to your show, and I love the fact that data matters, and I got a little data.
Okay.
In 1976, they had people lining up for a vaccine because they scared the world, and they had a big list of all the celebrities that took the medication that was going to save their lives, and about 10,000 people ended up paralyzed from it. And that was supposed to be a big pandemic. Everybody was freaking out. Everybody was scared. And 60 Minutes did the next episode on it, and you can go to YouTube. They have the actual 60 Minutes.
Okay.
The title is Deja Vu, 1976.
Okay. Swine
flu. And also, I was thinking about how Obama signed in 2016. He signed in the defense that it would be legal to push propaganda on the American people. So it's totally legal to do that because of Obama. And then we have Hong Kong flipping out and having a revolution. And people were finding out that Hong Kong was fighting China. And this huge revolution was happening. People were like 80 days fighting the government. People were getting arrested, young and old, out there in the streets. And out of nowhere, this city that we never heard of, called Wuhan, pops up, and people were sick, and everybody got distracted with this sickness, and now it's taking over. And it reminds me of Ron Emanuel, what he said. And what Ron Emanuel said was that when these things happen, when tragedies happen and these situations happen, we need to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
We need to not let a good tragedy go to waste, quote and unquote, because we will have the ability to do things that we never were able to do before. So we have Obama in 2016 allotting, I think it's $22 billion a year towards the propaganda of the American people. Okay? And we also have this place called China trying to deflect everybody from watching a revolution happen right in front of their face. And now everybody's scared. So I only have one question, and I'm not trying to, back you into a corner or anything like that. But will you get online to get the vaccine if there's a vaccine pops up in 2 weeks, so we can all be safe?
Let me just say this: I'm not a fan of new vaccines. I'm not a fan of things that are untested, right? So I tend to like to see how other people are going to do over the long term. I'm not a fan of new things. That's just me. Now I can't speak for anybody else, and I'm going to let you go, caller, because I know a lot of other people are trying to get through. I'm not a fan of new things. Well, then people say, we just made a mistake. We know your butt falling out, but we just made a mistake. We got to tweak that formula a little bit. I don't typically like that. I think that would depend on whether or not I'm sick. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, whether or not you really want to go and I got to take this depends on how you feel. If you healthy and you can be in the house and whatever, then you can say, I can wait it a minute. But if you're not and you're afraid, then you're going to say, let me go do this. But I hope they will have an experimental, you get your guinea pigs together first. I'm sure that's what you normally do. Pay people to be guinea pigs. Let me know how the guinea pigs turn out. And then, hey, I'm with you. I'm there. But, let me know how the guinea pigs came out. I need to know how the guinea pigs did. The guinea pig's still alive? Okay, then. We all right. So, I am going now to my next caller. I am going to 702. 702, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette, hold on a second. Let me get you off speaker here. Hold on a second.
You there?
Yep.
Hello? Okay. Yeah. I happen to be. I've called a few times, and as usual, I always appreciate your show. 2 or 3 really quick hits. One, I have a small cleaning business. It's based out of Las Vegas, and I have customers in Southern California and Las Vegas. I also happen to have a handful of Asian businesses that I take care of.
Okay.
Every one of them has cut me. Okay. They're concerned. A lot of the Chinatowns are emptying out, and they can't afford the cleaning service anymore. This has all happened in the space of like the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I have 4 guys. One of them I've already told to chill. The other one was like he was saying, he's trying to get his food hustle off the ground, and so he's still counting on a check from me to make his bills and pay his bills and help take care of his family and whatnot, while also trying to get this thing off the ground, and that's looking really sketchy right now. I wish him the best, and what I hope is that I'm able to have work for him. Las Vegas, if there's ever a barometer of whether or not people are able to spend money at all, it's how many people show up in Las Vegas, okay? And on an average year, there's 48 to 50 million people who show up in Vegas, and already a big convention, the National Association of Broadcasters, has canceled their big convention there. Others are looking, others are seriously and will probably start following suit. They're starting to cancel their business. I just left there today. The town has an eerie feel about it because everybody's got that nervous laugh, like because what is Vegas? It's about conventions mostly. Yeah. And so everybody's looking around at each other like, it's probably nothing. That nervous laugh, like translation, it means that
we'll be all right. We're healthy, right?
This is serious.
Yeah.
I just I'm coming down from Long Beach, and I'm going to a very large mall that will remain nameless in Orange County that has that most of the shoppers are very affluent Asian. It's a very affluent Asian customer. It's a very high profile mall.
Okay.
And it's ghost town in here. It is a ghost town. So that's basically my man on the ground report. The other thing I wanted to mention was that you were talking about the undomiciled. Technically speaking, I guess I am. I live out of a very large. I live out of a very large van. I live out of it by choice because I think, as I told you on a previous call, a couple of months. Yeah, I'm trying to save money for a house, and if you keep paying rent, you'll never be able to get the down payment right. But it has become an issue for me. It's like, okay, do I keep working? I have to keep working, and I have to keep showing up for my customers. But at the same time, it's like I'm traveling. I'm traveling between the states.
Yes, the catch-22.
It's just the strangest thing. It's just the strangest thing ever. I've never seen anything like it before.
I haven't either. I was saying to somebody earlier today. I've never seen this. Like I'm not 100 years old, but I've never seen anything like this. Like I've never seen anything like this. Like this is yeah. And I think you're caught in the catch-22. Like I have to, like I need to keep working. I can't just. What else am I going to do? I don't have any inheritance to just kind of rest on and be like, well, I got my inheritance. I'm gonna live off debt and just wait this thing out, right? And that's what reparations is. Reparations is our inheritance. That's why I tell people all the time, that's our inheritance. So we don't have any inheritance. So when stuff like this happens, like we don't even have anything to just like, well, I'm gonna chill out for a minute and just see what happens. So I'm happy you called in.
I did not catch the trust fund gravy train.
None of us did. None of us did. Most of us. Yeah.
Just one more quick thing before I go. As I've said before, I appreciate everything you guys do, and you guys have always inspired me to. It was you and Tone who inspired me to understand where we are as a people in this country, and So I will say that, yes, I have been an evangelist for the cause. I tell everybody that everybody black that I walk, that I see, especially in Las Vegas, I say, your vote does matter. Show up, vote down ballot, or write in ADOS, and please go to ADOS101.com. That's the first thing out of my mouth when I see somebody black. And like I say, I appreciate the motivation to make me this activist person at this point in my life.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Because that's meaningful. Like, you became an activist person because you found meaning. That's what meaning does to people. It activates you. It comes from somewhere in your soul. So I appreciate that, because this is who we are. So, like, if you really understand that you have a tribe, that's what you do. You activate for that tribe, and I appreciate that. I think I'm going to my last call, and I hate that I'm going to my last call because the calls is on fire tonight. Oh, we might have another Corona episode because the calls is on fire. I ain't never seen it this packed. Like, it's pop, 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 pop. There's always a lot of calls, but like pop, pop, pop. Anyway, I'm going now to who am I going to? I'm going to 702. 702. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hello?
What's going on, 702?
Hey, what's going on? It's Charlie.
Not too much.
Calling from Nevada. Interesting hearing the caller before, also from Nevada. I think I know him, but that leaves here and there, neither here nor there. I just like to call because I am engaged in the health field, not directly as a doctor or a nurse or anything like that, but we are not the first line, but the second line. I won't go into where I work for, but I'd like to just say a few things about it. The virus can be contracted through droplets, so if someone sneezes or coughs and they have the virus, you can get it that way if you inhale the droplets. It's the coronavirus is in the same family as a cold. So you can get it just as easily as you get a cold. So you know how easily people get colds? That's how easy it is to get the virus if you're around a bunch of people who are infected, or one or two people infected. That's one. That's number one. Number two, I am fortunate enough, we spoke before about grandparents, and I had grandparents who came up right after the flu of 1918. And so they had parents who were very much into cleanliness and cleaning, and they were adamant about it because they understood that it was possible to get sick very, very easily. And so I look at this, and I don't think people understand, because I hate to say it, all of us, including ADOS in the West, have been spoiled. We have never had this type of thing before.
That's true.
This was very common when you go back to the beginning of the 20th century and before, for people to have the flu come through and kill people in large numbers. All of my older relatives who I spoke to when I was young talked about it. There'd be a winter, that's like in the what's that show they had, the Game of Thrones, they said winter's coming.
Yeah.
That is a true term. The people used to use it all the time, because when winter came, people died. People died from flu, infections, et cetera, because they didn't have the kinds of penicillin and all the antibiotics and the vaccines that we have now. So we're going through a period of time right now, where we don't have a vaccine. We don't have palliative care, meaning we don't have like a Theraflu. We don't have anything that will make this virus any better when it infects you. So not only will you contract it and get sick, possibly maybe deathly sick, if you don't get sick, there's nothing to even make you feel better. We don't even have those drugs because this is a new virus. So it can be very impactful. And it's not so much, people talk about people dying. That's true. But there's the other secondary impact, which is just as powerful. Once this thing begins to, if hopefully, and hopefully it doesn't get to that, but if we get to numbers that start to collapse the system, we start collapsing the healthcare system with numbers, not just of the dying, but of the ill, and then we run into a situation where that system is overtaxed, and the people in the system can't help everyone. People are at home ill, where they don't have the resources to take care of each other correctly. And in addition to that, you start to get social dissolution, because people become anxious and panicked and scared and angry, and you start to get all kinds of other problems. This is one reason why Italy shut everything down, because they saw that beginning to begin to happen. My daughter, I've talked to you before about my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
She, if I'd gotten my legacy of money like we're supposed to, she'd be a polyglot. She picks up languages very easily. She has friends in Italy online, and so she's been talking to them online, Facebooking and things. And yeah, it's pretty bad over there with a lot of old people dying in the home because they don't. Their healthcare system is beginning to get overtaxed already.
It's already overrun.
Yeah, it's already overtaxed. So the young people they're talking about how they're taking care of their dying grandparents in the home. So this is some very serious thing. I was looking at some of the data in terms of not tens of thousands. So they keep talking about the flu. They keep talking about the flu. The thing is, what people don't understand with the flu is that, yeah, we lose about 30 to 40,000 people a year to the regular flu. But the flu has a vaccine. So we're talking about a vaccine virus that's taking out 40,000 people. And we have to remember that the vaccines themselves, the flu vaccine, not this one, but the flu vaccine also helps you deal with the other strains of flu that you might get sick on. So in other words, even though it stops you from getting sick on one strain of flu, it helps your immune system fight off the other one. So we have a sort of a double line of defense against the flu with a vaccine. We don't have either line of defense with this. And so this can be you see the numbers are kicking up. When you start getting numbers, like I've been watching the numbers on various stations, when you start getting, there's small numbers of people infected, supposedly. We don't know the exact thing. But when you start seeing this death roll kick up that fast, if we start to get a large number of people carrying the virus, some of them will have mild symptoms. Thank God, at least the children seem to be experiencing only mild symptoms or asymptomatic. Mm-hmm. But the older people, their death rate is huge. It's like, I've seen as high as 10-15%.
I've seen 15, yeah.
So if we start to see those kinds of numbers, not only will we tax that system, we would tax, and like you said before, you were speaking about the Uber and all the rest of that. Who is going to be working anywhere when that's going on? So you start to get an entire social dissolution going on when people say, okay, wait a minute, grandma is sick and in the hospital, maybe my uncle's home, he couldn't get in the hospital. You start to have all these social, economic, psychological problems that can occur, not just with the people who are actually affected, but the people who are impacted by their illness.
Yeah.
And so this is a very serious thing. I'm glad that people seem to Trump up in the room, and at least he seems to be beginning to wake up, because we need him to wake up. Whatever you can say about this guy, he's sitting in the damn chair. He has to wake up.
Yeah,
or somebody has to kick his chair and wake him up, because, like you said, this is government. This is what government is for. This is one of the main things you have government for, to mobilize in a crisis, and this is a crisis.
Absolutely.
It's potentially a crisis. Right now, it's a very bad thing that's going on. It could potentially become an extreme crisis because we don't have people like my grandmother and my great aunt who understood what this was. So they could psychologically prepare themselves. They could physically prepare themselves. They had pantries. They knew how to make food. They understood that. They understood that everything was always a crisis mode all the time. My great aunt would not go out to eat, and she didn't trust people's cleanliness in the back rock room. She didn't know they washed
my
their
parents
hands.
are still like that.
So,
my parents are still that way.
yes, exactly, because they came out of a time period when that was death. That was life and death. That being clean in the back room was life and death. It wasn't just you get a tummy ache and maybe you have a little, you hit the runs for a few days. No. You could die from dysentery back then, cholera back then. Still, in the early part of the 20th century, we pretty much. There's some pockets here, as you reported, and other people where we still are victims to that crap. But by and large, Americans are not, and because of that, we don't know how to handle this. The people who are in positions of control and power, because we have all the way up. It's not just Trump; it's all the way down and around the world. I'm looking at these people and what they're saying. They don't know what they're talking about, and it's really disgusting to me because we had Ebola. We had H1N1. There was a lot of money pushed into the system to train people to be prepared for this type of thing, and I don't see any of it being manifested in any of these people. You can talk about Trump all day long, but the CDC has been falling down, and so have these local agencies. I am disgusted with it. I'm hearing some of the statements they're making, some of the actions they're doing, and some of the things they're saying, and I'm getting better information from independent doctors on the internet who are making more sense. than the people who are in the positions that should be telling us what's going on. And that doesn't make any sense, and that doesn't help things. Particularly if things go south, where people are going to lose more confidence in them, because if it gets worse, they're going to be like, well, why didn't you guys do more? What the hell were you doing? What the hell was going on? And that will lead to more social dissolution. Now, I'm hoping it doesn't go that way. I'm hoping that this thing burns itself out.
We don't know. We're hoping.
Get to that, but it could get to that. And if it does, we'll be one of those generations. We'll be another one of those generations to sit here and say, hey, you remember the winter spring of 2020, but I don't want to be that one. I don't want to be that. I don't want to.
Because even what you said, and I'm gonna let you go, Carla, but I appreciate it. I thank you so much. That was a wonderful call. But what you said too is like, even being a survivor is so awful. Like if it gets bad and we don't know, because our government has lagged, and we saw see, that's the thing of benefiting, and that's gonna be the last call for the night, fam. But the thing about benefiting is that you see it happening over there, so you know what you need to do over here. I saw it happen over there. We benefited from seeing it happen, and we can jump into action. And from everything I've seen, we didn't do that, right? And so I don't want to be the one left talking about like what's happening in Italy, where they're just taking care of their elderly parents or grandparents who are just dying at home because the hospital's over capacity. It's one thing to tell stories. I don't want to have that story to tell, but I do think on some level we have to summon the strength and courage of the ancestors to not only call on like the people who like, what are you doing? We need a stimulus here. We need all kind of stuff here, but to kind of weather storms and be smart and control the things that we can control. So, fam, I want to appreciate. Thank you so much. It was so many wonderful calls tonight. I appreciate you. If I didn't get you, this is not the last time we're going to have this conversation, because it can't be the last time we have this conversation. It just is what it is. So, fam, if you're watching, please hit that like button for me. Please hit that like button. I'd appreciate it. Don't forget that on the 26th of this month, we will be talking about the color of money, black banks, and the racial wealth gap. Please do not forget that. Please hit the bell. Please hit the subscribe button. If you have not hit the subscribe button for me, please hit that. I would appreciate it if you would hit that subscribe. Hit it. Hit the bell. If you want to donate, as always, go to donatebrown.com, patreon.com/WaCarnell. You can do that as well. You can get a shirt at adosmerch.com. The ones who are remaining should be going out. Some went out yesterday. The rest will go out later this week. And fam, stay healthy, stay vigilant, and control what you can control. And we're going to talk about this again. So, fam, I will speak to you soon. Easy breezy. Take care of yourself and meditate. Do whatever you need to do. Pray, meditate, do whatever you got to do. Get some of that stress off of you, too. Wash your hands and do a whole bunch of stuff that we got to do, and advocate for our own little tribe over here. So, we will talk soon, fam. Easy breezy.